The JCM 800, an amplifier that has stood the test of time and left many a boomer with creamed jeans all across time and space. An amplifier so beloved, so cherished, and yet so misunderstood. An amplifier that your racist Uncle Greg says,
"You can't play metal on that."
But yet, on the other side of the coin, your non-racist Uncle Matt says,
"This is the amplifier that metal was invented on. So you should absolutely be able to play extreme death metal on this amplifier without using any pedals in front."
But guess what? Your Uncle Matt is a closet racist. So he's wrong about a lot of things, including the JCM 800 at 2203's propensity for extreme high gain tones. And furthermore, who knows what JCM 800 that your racist uncles are even talking about? Is it the much revered and highly coveted 2203, or is it the scourge of the earth, the 2210? Well, today, I'm gonna show you both back to back and answer all of your burning questions that you didn't even know you had about the JCM 800. Let's do it. All right, guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and welcome to Belligerent Studios. What I do here is I take all sorts of awesome high-gain related guitar equipment, I record it with a simple setup, and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into East End or thrash riffs, dropsy hardcore riffs, and dudes that try to floss daily, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on the way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! All right, guys, so today I wanted to take the time, since this is the first time in a while that I've had both JCM 800 100-watt models in my possession, to actually compare them back to back for you guys, because number one, a lot of you guys have said that you missed my back-to-back amp comparison, so we're gonna bring it back. And number two, I feel like the JCM 800 in the metal community is an amplifier that is extremely misunderstood. There seems to be a lot of people that think that the 2203 is an amp that you can just plug and play and get high gain metal tones out of. It's very clear to me that those people have never actually played one of those amplifiers for themselves and have never really dug too deep into that amplifier to see what they're all about. They're basically just listening to other people who don't know what they're talking about and taking their word for it. So I'm gonna use the internet and my platform to do what it was meant to be for. Good enough. I am going to teach people who have no interest in being taught. Real quick though, this video is not sponsored, so if you would like to help support this channel and basically help me be able to make this kind of content for you guys, the content that you request me to make, please do me a huge favor. Visit my affiliate links down in the description if you're looking for any new guitar gear, and that is Sweetwater and Zounds. If you shop with either of those retailers, I have an affiliate link with either one of them. And if you click that link, basically anything that you buy will cost you nothing extra, but I will get a percentage of the sale, and it allows me to go and spend every last dime that I've ever earned on more amplifiers for you guys so I can make the content that you want. Or you can join my Patreon, which is also listed down in the description, and add your name to this list of incredible people and support the channel that way. I'd love you forever, whether you want me to or not. Thanks! All right, guys, so on the cabinet today, we have 2 iterations of the JCM 800. There are a bunch of iterations of the JCM 800, but the 2 main ones that people talk about are the 2203 and the 2210. The 2203 is the amplifier that came first. This was basically an evolution of the JMP 2203 circuit. They just morphed the JMP series into the JCM 800 series, and I believe that happened in either 1980 or 1981, not 100% sure on the timeline, but the JMP 2203 essentially turned into the JCM 800 2203, and the model that I have here is actually the reissue. So this is a modern production reissue of the 2203 called the 2203X. Are you confused yet? And generally when people talk about a JCM 800, they're talking about the 2203 circuit. What they don't really know though is the 2203 that they think sounds so amazing on all those records were usually modded and not in their stock form. And as you guys heard in the intro of this video, this amplifier with no boost in front has hardly any gain at all. It can be very flubby and kind of gross sounding if we're being totally honest. If you're trying to dial it in for a high gain tone, that is. If you're trying to dial it in for, you know, a dad's rock, a racist uncle rock tone, it's gonna sound amazing for that going straight into the amplifier. But if you're trying to get anything even remotely high gain out of it, it's just not gonna do it going straight in. It's gonna need a lot of help. I'll show you how to do that a little later in this video. But that brings us to the 2210 JCM 800. And what the 2210 was basically Marshall's attempt to kind of try and keep up with some of the custom JCM 800s, the ones that were being modified out there, because Marshall realized that a lot of people were taking their 2203 or 2204 to special amp modifiers such as Jose Arredondo, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, and they were basically having him hot rod those amplifiers in order to get more gain out of them. But another thing that was starting to happen is people were starting to use channel switching amplifiers around the time that these were created. That's when the first channel switching amplifiers were coming into prominence, and Marshall wanted to basically put that technology into their flagship amplifiers as well. So the JCM 800 2210 actually has clipping diodes in the preamp section. It sounds different, as you guys heard, than the 2203, and a lot of people who love the 2203 did not like the 2210 at all, and that is because the 2210 sounds a little bit thinner. It's a little bit tighter, but it's also not nearly as ballsy as the 2203 is, but it does have a lot more gain, and again, that's partly due to the clipping diodes. So that was Marshall's attempt to kind of get that hot rodded sound of their early amplifiers, but in my personal opinion, they didn't do the best job. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't like this amp. I actually think the 2210 can sound amazing if you basically do the right things to it, and it's definitely the amp that is more capable of high gain tones out of the box. But all in all, I still think that you can get the better tones out of the 2203. So we are going to basically compare these amplifiers real quickly. That way we can compare and contrast, and you guys can actually see the differences between the 2 amplifiers and figure out which one is the one that you actually want to track down for yourself. So in that intro clip, I was using my Epiphone 1979 Adam Jones Les Paul Custom with the Seymour Duncan distortion in the bridge. We will use a couple other guitars in this video though, so you guys can see how it sounds with active pickups, low output pickups, and then also in a drop C tuning. And then for the cabinet, we are actually using a Marshall 1960 AC cab. This has the early 90s greenback reissues. These are basically very highly sought after greenback reissues. A lot of people think that these sound the best of the modern production greenbacks over the last 30 years. And honestly, I gotta agree, these things sound really, really good. We've got an SM57 on that greenback where the edge of the dust cap meets the cone on the speaker. There will be no post-processing on any of the audio that you guys hear. And yeah, you guys heard how it sounded boosted and unboosted. You basically heard that we were able to get somewhat of actual high gain tones out of this. Let's real quick go over to those racist uncle type tones, the crunchy tones, and then we'll move on to the stuff that, you know, real men play, not loser shit, AKA high gain metal tones. All right guys, so I have my PRS SE McCarty 594 here. This has the stock pickups in it, which are the LTS 5815. They're basically PRS take on the PAF style pickup. They're low output. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna kick on the amplifiers. We're gonna start with the 2203. We're gonna dial in a dad rock tone, and we're gonna do the same thing on the 2210, and you guys will be able to hear the differences. So as you can see, the 2210 has a little bit more of a vocal midsection. It really is very mid-forward, and it can definitely get a little bit brighter. Both amps are very bright, but as you can see on the 2203, we've got the gain almost maxed out, and we've got it in a similar spot on the 2210, but we're getting more gain out of the 2210. So overall, this amplifier, the 2210, is definitely capable of more high gain tones out of the box, and this one is pretty much at its max. It basically just gets a little bit flubbier as you turn it up and a little bit thicker sounding. So what happens if we roll back the gain on both amplifiers and we kick in a Boss SD1? So both amplifiers take a boost pretty similarly, actually, and both of their inherent qualities are still intact. The 2210, very mid-forward, it's still a little thinner on the low end and a little bit more gain capability, whereas the 2203 is a little bit fatter, slightly fuller sounding, less mid-forwardness, and basically a little bit more balanced, but both amps still have a very bright top end Kerrang, as I like to call it. I'm going to trademark that word, even though it's been used for years. Don't ask me why, I'm just going to do it. So with all that being said, let's move back to our guitar with the Duncan distortion pickups, and let's try to get an actual higher gain tone out of this. All right, again, so you guys can hear the guitar going straight into the amplifiers, because all of the racist uncles that watch my channel out there love to cry and complain when I use pedals in front of Marshall amplifiers. So for some reason, I am actually giving in to their demands, and I'm actually a little bit disappointed with myself now. My oppositional defiance has relaxed a little bit in my old age. So that is with no overdrive or anything boosting the front of either amplifier. Both of them sound like doo-doo butt mud for high gain tones. They both sound flubby. There's hardly any saturation, hardly any compression, and basically completely non-usable tones for any sort of modern high gain needs. So the first thing that we're going to kick in is a 7-band EQ. So we are boosting the level by 15 decibels, and we are pulling down the low end frequencies in order to keep things a little bit on the tighter side. So as you can see, the differences between the two amplifiers now are quite noticeable. Whereas the 2203 still doesn't have very much gain at all. It's still kind of flubby. The 2210 with the gain maxed out and being pushed by a 7-band EQ actually sounds very saturated. It's almost at a level that I would call modern levels of gain or saturation. So the 2210 is definitely more capable of getting into the high gain tones without having to stack pedals than the 2203. So the next thing that we're gonna do is stack pedals. So I'm going to leave that 7-band EQ on and dialed in exactly as I have it now, but we're gonna kick in a Lichtlerm King in Yellow overdrive. This is a very hot, very modern sounding overdrive, and you will see this is what it takes to make these amplifiers sound modern. pickups. All right, guys, so I have an LTD EC1000 here with the Fishman Fluence Modern Ceramic pickup in the bridge, and we have this set on the passive voicing, and it's going to sound like this. We're really going to be slamming to the front end of these amplifiers now, starting with the 2203. Whoever says that pickups don't make a difference, suck my butt. This guitar sounds wildly different from the SH6 loaded guitar that we just had. But yeah, as you can see, all those differences still intact here, guys. Both of these take being hit with a whole lot of signal on the front end very, very well, and that's what you can use in order to get these things into actual modern high gain territory. The JCM 800 has a really, really cool barky upper mid-range thing that's gonna cut through anything. The 2203, a little more balanced, definitely fuller in the low end frequencies, so if you require low end, this is gonna be the amp that you're going to want. But both amps shine for their own reasons, and I both think that they sound awesome here. Last but not least, let's try a drop C hardcore tone. Sound awesome. Both have their own unique voicing things going on. Both have their differences, but they're also very similar in the grand scheme of amplifiers. So let me know in the comments, which one do you like better? Which one would you rather have as part of your high gain arsenal? Really curious to hear what you guys have to say about this. I know which one I would pick, but I'm going to leave that for my diary tonight. So thank you for watching. If you liked the video and you want to see more content like this, let me know down below in the comments. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already subscribed. Hit those affiliate links in that Patreon account if you guys want to support my channel. And thanks so much for watching. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time. Bogcat Goldthwait.
You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.